a trip that's been very long in the making. This is something that's been dreamed up by Zach, Rajendra, and Indra. And it's a very fantastic voyage that's really going to be a once-in-a-lifetime trip that's going to take you on a journey to learn all about water cycle restoration. That has been spearheaded by Rajendra, it's been spearheaded by San, and give you a glimpse into a world where communities are truly taking ecosystem repair into their own hands, and to give you a glimpse of the power of people that often in the West that we do not see. Sometimes we rely on governments, we rely on large clients to do this work, and we often don't get to see the impact that we can make on an ecosystem and a landscape. And this will truly give us a glimpse into people power, the power of people to restore their ecosystems, to restore their climate, to restore their water. And of course, anybody hopping into this webinar who doesn't know about the Water Citra trip, yeah, it's a 2-week voyage we're doing with Dr. Rajendra Singh, Zach Weiss, Indra Singh, and the whole Water Stories team, which is going to be myself, Raleigh, Megan, Neri, and Apollo. Sandana, and we're going to be doing that in this January 12th through the 25th in India, in Rajasthan. So to give you a bit of info about why we're going to Rajasthan, we're going to see the power of communities to restore their ecosystem and the water cycle. These trips that we've highlighted in so many films, these are done by people who don't have a lot of resources, who are in some of the poorest regions of India and in the world, and yet they're making changes that hardly ever happen in the richest Western countries. Enormous water capture systems, enormous johads. They've restored over 13 rivers now. I thought it was 7 at first when I made Reviving Rivers, but now
23.
23 rivers. Okay, so it's not just 7, it's not 13, it's 23 rivers. And we often think that this is unfathomable in the West, that these are billions of dollar projects. And yet here, these are done by communities themselves. So we're going to see enormously successful water cycle restoration projects, and ones that you don't see in the West. You might hear of stories like the Yuba River in Northern California, where the dam was taken out, and yet that's a drop in the bucket compared to some of the stories that we're going to see in India across Rajasthan. And another big thing is we're going to gain inspiration for these projects. We're going to gain the experience. We're going to help bring this back and create a movement that we can create some of the changes that we see in Rajasthan back to where we live in our home countries. And of course, this is going to be an adventure that none of us are going to forget. You're going to travel with 2 weeks with Rajendra, with Zach, with Indra, with the whole Water Stories team, and everybody that's coming across the world. We're going to be traveling together, forming this really great bond, experiencing these projects, working on these projects. And we're going to have these memories and experiences that are going to last the rest of our lives. So I'm looking forward to it. Zach's looking forward to it. Everybody's going to be a part of it, is really looking forward to this. So for those of you who don't know, I helped make the film Reviving Rivers, and I got a glimpse into the story of Rajendra. I haven't met Rajendra yet, which is why I'm so excited, because I got to sit with him for hours and hours, dozens of hours, maybe even 100, while I created the story about him. And I got to really love hearing his words and learning about him and getting inspired about what he's done. And one of the things that really got to me is he started out as a doctor. He had one calling that through his early 20s, that he was raised to be an Ayurvedic doctor. And yet when we actually went to help people in the village, the exact village where we're going to see, this old elder who he cured from night blindness, Mangu Kaka, told him that you cured me of night blindness, but the true way to restore this village, to help these people that live here, is to help them bring back water. So he shifted himself from helping old people and people who were suffering from night blindness and other maladies to shifting to help them restore water on their landscape. So the first thing he did was he built a pond by hand. So he threw off his doctor outfit and he got into the ground with a shovel and just started digging. He was the only one at the start. And slowly people started joining him. And by the end of when he saw that the impact that first pond made, where wells started to recharge, where animals started to be able to have access to water again, where people saw the water on the landscape, that's when people truly started joining him. And he didn't know at the time, but he actually started a movement, Turun Bharat San. And since 1980, the impact has been enormous. Now I'm saying 7 here, it's actually 23 rivers. It's hard to fathom that as an individual, 23 rivers, the impact that you can make starting a pond, which can snowball into having an impact with 23 rivers. This organization, Turun Bharat San, 250,000 wells restored. It's so hard to fathom that as an individual. Reducing temperature 2 degrees Celsius. Entire villages that were restored were people that migrated to the cities because of drought, because of poverty, were able to come back. And this impact it's 1 million people were impacted by this work. And that is such a beautiful story. I can't think of, we're waiting for some form of hopeful climate news. And this is the hopeful climate news. This is the great news that we're waiting for, because this work is the way forward that we are going to restore our world. And like Gandhi, Rajendra had a vision that he never stopped, despite the obstacles, despite the local officials that stood in his way. He never stopped. He kept restoring water. He kept pushing this organization together to restore water no matter where they lived, no matter what obstacle faced them. They kept going so that the people can return to the land they loved by restoring the water that they needed. So, Zach, how did you first meet Rajendra? What was the very first meeting you had together?
Yeah, I started hearing about Rajendra from other people that I work with, and just hearing this crazy story of rivers flowing again, which is really a profound impact on the landscape. And then I got the chance to help host him for the Global Earth Repair Conference in Washington. And just 5 days with Rajendra totally changed my perspective around how communities can become activated to heal their ecosystems. And really seeing how community-led movements can do this huge impact that, like Raleigh mentioned, we're used to seeing with our projects and with clients, but it takes a lot of money and it's usually only a few people involved. And so this is this totally different style with lots of people, barely any financial resources, and yet huge impact that's really profound. I wonder, Indra, how did you come across Rajendra and come to meet him?
I was hoping to save this for the trip, but I'll give you a short.
Okay, we can save it. We can save it for the trip.
But let's just say that I will not let Riley's question be left unanswered. I did the first time I did see him, and saw him in his element, which is in his projects. Everything that I knew about the social development world, and I've been working very closely with Vandana Shiva also. She's my first mentor. And the minute I saw the impact that this man's work has done, one single man and then the organization has caused, I think it caused a melting of my heart when I saw so many people are changed, and their lives have not just changed as an idea, but their lives have physically transformed, and they will never know water scarcity again. So I think whatever that emotion, that really melts anybody. When you see in the desert, you see nothing but water all over. It's quite a humbling experience, I think.
Mm. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see these areas. Fantastic. Well, I have the clip up and running, and so we have 3 clips from 3 of the films that are about Rajendra's work and about Turun Bharat San. We're going to share that, and they're kind of in the different regions. This is kind of in the Rajendra's ashram region and the very start of the project. This is a clip from Reviving Rivers. So this is Rajendra. This is the story where Mango Kaka told him, this is the area where you can actually create a water body. So Rajendra was a doctor who started digging this himself. And very slowly, people thought he was crazy at first, and they started to join him. So after digging this pond, he was able to actually see the impact slowly as the rain filled this first Johad. And, the rainy season came, the water came to the landscape. And then what they didn't see underground, the water started to percolate into the groundwater and hit this watertight layer that slowly, as the water filled, it actually ran horizontally through the landscape and actually recharged the wells. And so people who, as wells were dry for decades, were amazed to actually see their wells were suddenly full. And this water was actually captured and held in the landscape. And suddenly people had drinking water for themselves and for their animals. And that was the seed of inspiration that started this movement at Turin Bratsan, that let's do more. Let's do thousands of these water capture systems. Let's do this across villages, small and large. And so the impact of this work, it allowed people to start farming again. It allowed them to restore their livelihoods. One of the biggest impacts is it started to reverse migration. And so this is one of the areas we're going to see is this first pond built by hand by Rajendra. This is still here, 3 decades later. I think it's 4 decades now. When did he do this? 1980. And it's this beautiful place that's going strong. And it's like this is the seed of hope that sprung into this movement. Wish we'd have Rajendra's words here, but I love this visualization here because it just shows that the steamrolling effect that once you build one pond, that it can lead to another water body. These impacts in the landscape can scale up. And Indra, real quick, I don't know what the location of this is. This Jaipur or is this near Rajendra's ashram?
This is the first location that we will be visiting. This is in the Alwar district, and this is next to the Tiger Reserve that we talked about, the first part of our trip. And Riley, I would just like to add one small thing that may give our audiences like some idea. We hear of the one straw revolution coming from Japan and Masanobu Fukuoka. Now here we have a real genius and who started this one pond revolution. And most of the people get an idea to see this pond revolution from the very birth of it. And I'll give it over to you now. Like, that's the real experience. Like, how do you see, imagine if like a Picasso was painting his first painting and you saw that. It's similar, like, people like us who are mad over water and water conservation. For us, it's no better than a Picasso painting his first painting. And we are seeing the residue of the brushstroke and everything and how functional it still is even in today's time, maybe up to 50 years actually, since its creation.
Yeah, and this was this I think was at the rainy season that they even filmed this. So this is after months of no rain. I think was it 9 months of no rain. That when the monsoon season, is it 3 months or is it 4 months?
See, in some of these areas, there was no monsoon. And like you mentioned earlier, the climate changed to lessened by 2 degrees. So it's only with the water coming in and things started happening, then the clouds returned back to these areas. So they had prolonged droughts for years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years with no rainfall. And then you have this.
Yeah, and it shows the power, like the impact that you cannot just, my voice is low, dude. Someone said that my voice is low. Well, Zach, am I coming in all right for you?
I think you're okay.
There you go. Maybe one person maybe turn up your volume there, Stenberg. But I think one of the big impacts here is it's not just enormous ponds. It's not just Johad. It's not just check dams. It's the work that these cumulative effects have once they start scaling up to dozens, to hundreds, the effects that you actually start to see rivers being restored. That is one of the true miracles of this work, where rivers that had been dry for decades started to reemerge. And can you imagine that impact where in living memory there were no rivers and all of a sudden rivers started to come back? That's the true miraculous thing that is so hard to wrap your head around, that rivers can be brought back to life. And that we have the impact, these communities that have had close to nothing, were able to restore the lifeblood of the ecosystem themselves, to restore the water, to restore rivers, to restore rainfall, to the point where people could start farming again. And that's one of the beautiful things about that I truly love about the story and Rajendra's work is that people can bring back their own water, can restore their own ecosystems, can take themselves out of decades of drought and poverty by restoring their relationship with water. So I might come share another film clip later once I get the sound working. But why don't we get back to the presentation here? And but you can see all those films. That's Reviving Rivers. It's free on YouTube. I can post the link. But that was just a little clip. All right. So here's a bit of an interview about where we're going off of this 2-week journey. And I know Indra can give a bit more clarity if I'm missing anything. Again, if I'm missing anything, feel free to step in and give a bit more information. But the first day, we all arrive in New Delhi. We have that day to kind of like reverse our jet lag, and people can actually arrive earlier and take a few tours, have your own mini adventure before we start the main adventure. But we all arrive in New Delhi. We're going to go from the airport to the main hotel we're all going to be at. And then the next day on January 12th, we're all going to be picked up at 6 a.m. sharp. And we're going to start the journey to Rajendra's ashram. We're going to be at 4 days. This is the site of a lot of the project is seen Reviving Rivers. And this is kind of one of the meet where we're going to see the work of Rajendra Singh and Tarun Bharat. Then we're going to go to the Chambal Valley, January 17th to the 19th. This is where the film Water and Peace was made. Water Bandits, which is a great film made by a filmmaker named Lucy, about areas that were destitute and crime-filled were actually brought back into social security and peace by the impact that Tarun Bharat made, bringing back water to these landscapes. And we're going to see the impact that these have made. We're going to meet the people who are actually able to live in these places, that some of them were once bandits, but now are peaceful farmers and thriving because of the water that was brought back to the landscape. After that, we're going to Jaipur to see more water restoration projects. And then the final leg of the trip, we're going to Jaisalmer. We're going to see ancient step wells. We're going to see desert water capture systems. And we're going to see one of Rajasthan's most ancient cities, where there's very beautiful structures, water temples, and this site that's seldom seen and yet is just super iconic. And then January 24th and 25th, we're going to return to New Delhi. And so first up, New Delhi. It's our first arrival. It's our departure city. It's the capital of India. We're going to arrive. We're going to meet the group. You're going to, have a safe transport from the airport to the hotel we're all going to stay at. And then the next morning, we're leaving for Rajendra's ashram. And if you spend a day early, which I'm going to try to, I want to get some local clothes for the trip. That's what I'm going to do. If I have a day or two extra, like maybe go see some sites with a local tour guide. So January 12th through 16th, we're going to meet Rajendra, see the ashram where so many of these projects began. We're going to see the birthplace of Tarun Bharat. We're going to see villages that have been restored over decades by water capture systems. We're going to see the rivers that they restored to life, the enormous water harvesting earthworks done by the community. We're going to meet the people carrying out this work, the people that live in these villages, which lives were repaired by water restoration. We're going to learn from Rajendra himself. We're going to learn how to read the land, how to understand the systems of water capture, how that we can see the contours and the right hydrological formations, the soil types, the areas in the landscape, the acupuncture points where we actually can capture water. And we're going to get some hands-on practice with some water harvesting earthworks. And one of the great experiences, we're going to stay together at an ashram with the Water Stories team, which is going to be very fun. Then next up, we're going to go to the Chambal Valley. We're going to visit the royal family and see the city palace, which is going to be very cool. We're going to meet local villages in the Chambal Valley who used to be bandits and now are farmers thanks to the water restoration work done by Tarun Bharat. And we're going to see the enormous water capture projects that enabled this to happen. And so that's a journey where we start moving west a little bit. We're starting in New Delhi, and we're moving west over this week. And I'm going to try to get this clip to have sound. Give me a moment here. Let's see if I can get this clip working. Oh, this is so frustrating. Usually this doesn't happen. But now it's happening. Well, I could talk a bit over this clip. And we can also share this video after, but good thing there's narration over there. So this is a story about the bandits who became farmers. And this is in the Chambal Valley, where once, this man had no choice but a life of banditry, because there's no opportunity economically for farming. There was nothing. This is the landscape before. There was no opportunity besides banditry. And so Trungpa and Rajendra came into these villages. They saw what they had done in their original region, and they saw, we can make this impact to actually bring water back to these landscapes. And so these areas that were completely destitute, they put in water capture earthworks. They enlisted the villages. They enlisted some of these bandits to actually do this work. And so slowly, as these systems are implemented and they saw water in the landscape, they started to have hope. They started to see the future that they had besides a life of banditry. And it's the community buy-in that truly allowed them to snowball and have this enormous impact. And we sometimes at Water Stories and with Zach's work, company Elemental Ecosystems, it's great to see a pond building project happen, but you usually don't get to see it on this enormous scale done by the communities, and immediately to have that community buy-in, where it's not just a client working on this on like their own property, but an entire community working together, where their entire livelihood depends on them having water capture projects. I feel like this is one of the truly unique things about Trungpa is we're seeing a community whose lives depend on water capture. And so they're rallying together to do this on a truly enormous scale that we cannot fathom, and we usually cannot ever do in the West. And so these are communities with little resources who are banding together to do these enormous water capture projects. And the results are, you see people who were once destitute, who were once bandits, who are suddenly be able to restore their lives, to become farmers, to suddenly able to have families again, to take care of their families again. And this not only restores the hydrological cycle and people's livelihoods, but it restores the safety, it restores the stability, it restores the ability to have communities and to live safely in these areas. So it's truly, the impact of water is not just helpful for the ecosystem, it's helpful for peace, and it truly is the bringer of life to these areas. So this guy, which was once a bandit, you can see the big scar on his face, is now able to farm with his family thanks to these water capture projects. Yeah, the work done by the community. I think that sums it up. So that's the Chambal Valley. That's one of the big things to see. And then we're going to Jaipur, January 20th to 21st. We're going to see some new water capture projects in action. We're going to meet some of the people in this local community and see what Trungpa is doing there. But this is from Trungpa's film Water Wisdom. I think this is it's a great summary of how Trungpa approaches villages and gets them on board to work, and how this work spreads from the original village to Chambal onwards is they identify the choke points of the area, they enlist the elders, they get them involved in the actual water restoration project. So it's not just an organization, an NGO, a landscaper company doing this. It's the entire community together involved in this project of water cycle restoration. So they're trained to do the work. they get to see the success. They're the ones who do the effort. And so by seeing the success themselves, they get the confidence to keep doing this again and again and again, to go bigger the next time, to capture more water. And they get to share the benefits of this work. They get to use the water for farming. They get to reclaim their land. So this is not just private property. This is the entire community benefiting. So the last place we're going to see is Jaisalmer, one of India's most ancient cities in Rajasthan. This is where some of these beautiful ancient step wells are located. This is where water harvesting has been happening for thousands of years, and some of these step wells are almost 1,000 years old. You're going to see very ancient temples that have been built in this area, and where people have lived with water scarcity for thousands of years and learn to live with it and create systems to help move beyond it and reverse it. So we're going to see these ancient cities, we're going to see these step wells, we're going to see palaces, and this is where we're going to really step into very, very ancient Rajasthan culture. And then the last day, World UNESCO Heritage Sites, we're going to see these these are going to be very stunning places. And the next day, the last day, we're going back to New Delhi, where you're going to be able to fly back or kind of have your own trip there. And transportation, maybe Indra can talk a bit more about this, but I know we're going to travel by bus and train most of the time. We're going to get in through our flight, but we're going to be traveling via bus and train. And so, Indra, can you talk about what is the bus and train trips going to be like to where we're going?
First of all, Riley, thank you very much for this excellent presentation. I think it really makes the trip shine. So thank you for that. And as we are trying to be sustainable and be as green as possible, we can all go ahead and say, let's take flights, but no, we are trying to take as much of our major journeys through public transport, maybe like a minibus or maybe a separate car, depending on what the exact number of registrations will be. We will decide on the mode of transportation, but it will be a journey from Delhi to Alwar, and then from Alwar to Karoli, which is where we will be headed for, and then back to Jaipur. All these trips till Jaipur will be in a bus, minibus, or in a SUV kind of car. And then we will be taking trains from Jaipur to Jaisalmer, which is about 11 to 12 hours. And after that, hello? Do you guys have me?
We've got you. We hear you. Yeah.
And then after that, we have to go from Delhi. We have to go to Delhi from Jaisalmer, where we will be going again via a train. And if somebody wants to take a flight, the flight options are also available. But it's again a 12-hour journey back to Delhi. On a train, it will be a second class air-conditioned compartment, which will be, you can sleep on the train. It's quite comfortable. There's food provided on the train. So we'll be good. We'll be taken care of in that sense. And in terms of comfort, we know some of you could be having some special needs. So that's why the train journey is more comfortable than sitting in a bus for a long time. And then just we can chat and talk and walk around in the train. So it'll be very easy and relaxed. So that's, do you think I missed some parts there in the transportation question?
Maybe just to add just really clearly, we'll be traveling all together in you making use of that travel time as well, in that it's more time to connect with one another, we can be using it for additional education time. So it'll be an intimate travel experience altogether.
And Zach, I would just add to that, and thank you for bringing it out. We also want, because there'll be many questions, and the real journey we are planning is to spend time with Rajendra and the Water Stories team, you guys. So that's the real treat. As much time when we are traveling together, you can have these mini small groups with Rajendra where you're discussing your thoughts, you're asking the questions. So the travel time is organized in such a way that the per person time with Rajendra increases and is at the maximum. And that's the intention here also.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to have, there'll be, some of these villages are hours apart, but we're going to have all that time with Rajendra, with Zach, with the Water Stories team. And so, you're going to be able to move from place to place. And And I'm actually looking forward to that long train ride. I've been able to take the Starlight Express on traveling from California to Washington, and that's almost 2 days. And yet, even though that was 2 days, it was a really good experience. So a 12-hour train ride is far more enjoyable than a 12-hour flight or a 12-hour bus ride. I'll give you that for sure. So that'll be a really nice journey and a way to kind of cap the journey off. I think that'll be a really great experience.
And
Yeah.
I would just jump in again. Like Jaipur is a great place to do shopping from, and especially the Indian ethnic wear and other things. So all of you who would like to shop, the whole idea is that you can be in Jaipur, have a long night, be up late at night, like who cares? And then we get to the train and then you'll sleep at hostel to Jaisalmer. So it gives you enough time to just relax and be easy and also experience the vibrant culture of the city of Jaipur. And similar with Jaisalmer. So, some if you want to, like, for example, there is we are in the desert and some of you would like to take a desert safari or something, we can try and work something out. And then everyone can rest in the train, use the time for rest also, because that's also very, very required in India in a trip like this.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about this is like if you take this trip and you really be like, I want to spend more time in India before or after, you can truly, reach out to people like Indra and they'll help. Indra might help you find really awesome places to do and to do it safely. And so if you're staying time after, there is so much to do and you'll probably will want to stay much longer after or before. And so that's something you could always tack on to the trip. But if you're like, I'm going for these 2 weeks, the whole thing is taken care of from the second you land on the plane to the second you return. All of that is part of this trip. All right, so food. I have not got to go to Rajasthan. Zach, and Indra, how do you describe the food of Rajasthan? I know in our pamphlet, it's like a lot of what we're going to eat is vegetarian with dairy options, with lentils and rice. And I know in cities, there's probably more opportunities for us to go out and eat more lavish things. But Indra and Zach, how would you describe some of the food on the trip and in these areas that you got to experience?
Do you want to start, Indra, or should I jump in?
Zach, why don't you begin first? I think I think your perspective is more important than mine.
Okay. Well, so I mean, the food is absolutely delicious. Honestly, Indian food culture, I think, is only on par with Mexican food culture in terms of just so many flavors and such an appreciation of food, such a cultural heritage of food. I'll say I am very sensitive to spicy. And so I have to be a little bit choosy with what I eat, but I have no problem finding options as well. So even if you're a, mayonnaise and potato salad kind of person, you're going to find tasty options that are suitable for your constitution. Me being a pitta, very sensitive to pepper spice, and still I'm able to find all sorts of things that are delicious and tasty. And I mean, the buffalo milk rice pudding is one of the best things I've ever eaten, period. And if you like cheese and dairy, oh man, the buffalo mozzarella is just totally next level. And lots of really nice, healthy, tasty options. So the food is definitely going to be a highlight to some extent. Now, you also, especially people coming from the West, we need to be sensitive. And so we're going to help and also help prepare everyone as far as what to and what not to eat to make sure that everyone has a really nice, happy time and no one gets bowel issues. So we also have that in mind for the trip as well. And last time I had a great time. I had delicious food and I had no issues. So I'd give a high recommendation for that. Indra, anything you
I
add?
will now. Yeah, sure, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure that the big worry there is in the whole world about Delhi belly and food in India and spicy food. Well, let me just tell you, there's no need to worry for such a thing at all. What we are planning to do is, anyways, we get out in Delhi, and then we're eating in the ashram where food will be as per somewhat of the ethos of the land and based on the agroclimatic zone. So you will get what is grown on the land or grown around it, because we want to give you the complete experience. There'll be bread and cheese and butter and all the Western diet all over, whenever you go back to your homes. We want to really give you the full authentic experience of India, which begins with taste. And taste of every region is so different that this is an opportunity to sometimes even say, you know what, let me try this out also. I would really encourage people to do that, because most of the milk that's coming to us, most of the food that's coming to us will be coming from local farmers. So it's coming from a non-industrialized system where people and animals are treated fairly. And in fact, most of the times they're treated really well. So please, having said that, please keep that in mind when we will be in the ashram. If someone has a deep allergy to garlic or something, they should let us know beforehand, because a lot of garlic is used in the food. Garlic and we use yogurt, a form of yogurt, and there's legumes. If you have allergies to these things, please let us know in advance. There could be some alternative arranged for you. When we reach the second location, which is the place in Karoli, there we will be staying with the royal family, one of the hotels of the royal family of the place. That have been there for 700 years. So there you will get a chance to eat Indian food, but also continental if you want. We can have a few dishes, maybe a dish or two. For people who are really cannot tolerate Indian food, we'll have something for you to eat, which resembles European or American food. Okay. And then we move to Jaipur, again, where you will have the option of the local flavors. And I would personally ask people to go with the local flavor. But in case that is a problem, the place will also have adequate European and American food options available to you. And same for Jaisalmer. So only in ashram will you have a slight problem for 4 or 5 days of just relying on Indian food, simple medicant Indian food. But anywhere else, the food will be taken care of in a good manner. There'll be people who, they'll be cooking to your palate. So food will not be a problem. And additionally, if you want something else apart from the menu, we can always talk to the restaurant or work something out. The option will always be there. If you want to buy something separate, that will also be possible. Okay?
Well, no, I'm excited. Indian is one of my favorite foods, but actually have off the land, freshly made, best, Indian cuisine in the world with us for the whole 2 weeks. I'm going to be in heaven. I cannot wait for that. This food.
And you get all style. You get the frugal food. You can the ashram. You get the royal flavors, and then with the royal family, you move to Jaipur. You get a variety of all kind of foods, and then Jaisalmer again. You have this great palate and flavor of food, which is available to you. So please, food should not be a problem. We will carry Bisleri waters and mineralized water bottles for all of us to drink. Exactly. Thank you for asking that question, Tina. I was just addressing that. But we will have a special thing for carrying water with us. And bottled water is available all throughout all the locations. So water shouldn't be a problem. And if anybody wants to carry some other specific water, they can. But we'll have basic filtered water and mineral water available for you all at all points in time.
There we go. Yeah, that's great. It segues into the next thing, safety. And of course, we got water covered. We're gonna have mostly drink safe bottled filtered water. We're gonna have medication for people who do have traveler's diarrhea. But if there any issues, there is plenty of hospitals. There's doctors around. Shared accommodations are divided by gender. You're with the group and the guide the entire time. So now you're not just wandering off by yourself, oh no, I'm stuck in the city alone. You're gonna be with the group the whole time, and you're gonna have, you're gonna be with Zach, Rajendra, Indra, and the entire Water Stories team. And so there really should be no factor where you're scared to go on this trip. You're gonna be held very well by the entire group, by local guides who've been out here for decades. And you're with Tarun Bharat-san, you're with Water Stories, and we want to help you make this the most fun experience possible. And again, this group is coming from all over the world, from the States, from Europe, Africa, Latin America. These are people who are part of Water Stories, students, practitioners, people who are just coming to this work, people who have been doing this for decades. We're all here because we're inspired by this work. So it's people like you, people who you want to be around with more. And you're going to spend this 2 weeks to get to know each other so deeply. And this will be an experience for no other, where you might end up with lifelong friends from this trip. You might end up with people who you end up working with. But most importantly, you're gonna have the memories that you're not gonna forget with these people. You know, if you've ever done a PVC, it's gonna be like that on a whole nother level. Turning back home, and yeah, once you're back in Delhi, you can go home or you can extend your trip, and we're all going back to the hotel together. So, last part about this, so registration, it ends on the 15th tomorrow, so you got one more day to sign up to this. And the basic ticket, including accommodations, guides, transport, food, is $3,700, not including the airfare. But you can again sign up until tomorrow. That's when the registration closes, and this is the chance if you want to go on this trip. We really highly encourage everybody to hop in and join this amazing voyage to India. And with that, I'm gonna bring this back to Zach here, and he can share about some of the things that he wanted to talk about Rajendra and Trumbrasan.
Awesome. And just to rapid fire answer some of the different questions that have come in. People interested, are there any recommendations about vaccinations? Are they checked when flying in? What about visa? Is it complicated? If complicated, are you helping with the process? So this is all pretty streamlined. You will not at any point be checked for your vaccination status going or coming. So this is something where you should consult your doctor, make your decision yourself, but you do not need any specific vaccinations to get there or to come back. And this part of India doesn't have a lot of the disease issues that other parts of India do. So we're really pretty safe as far as that goes. But again, we're not licensed physicians. Check with your physician, make your decision as you feel comfortable with. And then the visa is easy, straightforward. Megan already got hers. When you register, you get a bunch of info. We can provide recommendation letters or invitation letters for people who need those as part of their visa application. So we give you all of the info and make it really easy. You have to do the visa yourself, but it's straightforward. No one's had any issues, and we're here to help support and make sure you're putting in all the right info. And so as you register, you get more info on that and what you need to be able to join the trip. Are there any optional things that you recommend? There's more details for this on the ticket page, which I'm going to drop into the chat here, but there's a couple of different trips that we can help coordinate. Indra and local contacts in India have agreed to help us coordinate. So reach out to us if you are interested in that. We do recommend that you arrive a day or two early to get adjusted to the time zone, maybe more time if you're someone who needs more time. So we're really going to start and get going with the trip all together early morning on the 12th. So if you want to arrive the 8th, 9th, 10th, anytime in that range, that's great as well. And we can set you up with the same hotel. There's the additional cost for that, but then it's nice and easy once we all do get set up. And then another couple of questions I saw. One very important, the registration deadline is November 15th, as Raleigh mentioned. That's end of day tomorrow. Because we're traveling so much, we want to make sure we're traveling all as a group. We need to start booking all of the travel all together. So you got to register by end of day tomorrow in order to join this trip. So don't wait. And what else was there? Oh, how many people are going? We have, I think, 14 right now, and we'll see how many people join over the next day or two. But we won't be more than 30 people, so we'll be somewhere between a group of 15 to 20, maybe 25, but maybe 15. We'll see over the next course of the day or two. For the 25th departure, how early can we safely book a flight? I'm not sure about that off the top of my head, Becky, so let's follow up with you via email. Or Indra, do you know for the 25th? I believe we're traveling back overnight. on the 24th to Delhi on the 25th, what should people's earliest flight out of Delhi be?
I think it shouldn't be before midday. Like if you're planning, you should plan it after midday, like after maybe 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and after that.
Perfect.
I think too, like once people, get your ticket, we can really send out some nice like flight recommendation guides.
And the other thing is, everyone, this is a message to everyone that, like as Zach and Riley have said too many words, you will be held and you will be taken care of. Some things which you are finding trouble in once you register, we are there to help you, from getting hotels to flights and whatever is needed. When you come on board with us, we take care of you as a family, because that's what we want to really do. We want to create a water family throughout the world, starting with India in 2026, January.
Amazing. And this is going to be the launch of a borderless, wall-less university as well to help rehydrate the whole world. So this is going to be a really special opportunity to be able to join this. Paulina, a question of vegan options, as we mentioned, that should be accessible. The most difficult will be the ashram, but we should be able to arrange some stuff.
I would just add something just on the vegan thing. Most of the food will be cooked in clarified ghee. It's something called clarified butter. It's called ghee in India. There's very little way of escaping that. Either you go towards seed oils and some of the other like market oils, which are not very good. So ghee is considered like a good oil for cooking, or mustard oil. But I'm just letting you know, like, how deep is your veganism? I think that we need to discuss on the side, like to come to maybe consensus or a point where you can say, well, this can work for me or this doesn't work for me.
Great. Thank you for adding that. And then as far as what to bring, there will be opportunities to do laundry at the hotels, probably paying the hotel staff to do the laundry, but that will be accessible, so you don't have to pack clothes for the whole time. We will be having some hands-on opportunity. We will be getting dirty and
laundry everywhere. Laundry will be available everywhere except the ashram. Sorry, I just wanted to clear that out. All the hotels will have laundry. It's a paid additionally, you have to pay for it, but it's nothing. It's like not even like $5. $5.
Awesome. So yeah, it's really going to be a great trip. I want to share a little bit more about just some of the impacts in these regions, and I'm going to share a little bit of preview to documents you guys can find more of on Water Stories. Before I do that, is there anything else you want to add at this point, Indra?
That is going to be a wonderful experience. And of course, the Water Stories team, Rajendra, myself, we've all put in a lot of efforts to welcome you all in India. And we cannot promise you the moon or the stars, but we will definitely promise you a real introduction and a real education into water and how we perceive water wisdom, and how we prepare new warriors and new fighters to learn this from nature, less from the mind, more from the body, more from seeing, more from listening, and then becoming a solid water activist yourself. I think that's the overall aim, and may the goddess support us, may the water support us in fulfilling the same. But that's what we are trying to do here, and I hope you all join and make this even more fruitful and better.
Awesome. Beautiful. And to give folks just a little bit of an idea, so all of these documents are available in the Water Stories community. I'll include them in the email we're going to send out after this event. But I just want to show you, there is so much documentation. They've been doing a really beautiful job. And so when we look big picture at the situation they're dealing with, they're in this dry, hot area. And so we have this flow of moisture, this conveyor belt of moisture that was really being repelled by this dry, hot area. They put in a bunch of water conservation structures. They held some of the water coming off of the mountains. That water started to evapotranspire, started to transpire through vegetation, started to cool and create clouds, which then allows the incoming humidity and the return of the monsoons and the drop of local temperatures. So when we're concerned about e- temperature extremes, drought, flood, extreme climate, these are the kind of solutions that really make a difference, from this cycle of drought and flood and hot and dry and loss of seasonal rains to actually a smooth, consistent cycling of water. And all of these documents, they're full of so much good stuff. These are each, some of them are hundreds of pages long. So here we've got one just showing some of the rivers that have been impacted, where all of these different structures are. We're going to be going to some of these areas. So we can really see how this Revival of Rivers project comes into place and why it's so important in the world. And these are all going to be topics we're really going to explore in detail throughout these 2 weeks together. And then what gets really interesting that I want to share with you guys here, again, looking at the impacts in the region, and this has had huge socioeconomic, economic, gender equality, all sorts of ripple effects throughout this region. And one of the really big ones is going from a dry, hot, desertifying landscape to a landscape that is transpiring water, that is moving energy with the green heat, transpiring that into the atmosphere and cooling the local climate as a result of that. And so we can look at things from satellite imagery in some of these big projects. And again, this study is in the Water Stories community, so you can really learn more about it there. You can download this whole paper yourself. And we can look at the true image impact in some of these regions. And then they've got all of these interesting layers that they'll pull over as well, the moisture index, to really start to see how things are changing in this region over time as a result of these actions. And so it's really interesting to see, this is more photosynthesis happening in these areas, which is creating more cooling, which is creating more rain, which is creating more life, all as the result of these water conservation structures. And so you can really look at the increase of photosynthesis that's happening in these regions as a result of, and even in some cases, seeing the rainfall increase. Now, again, this is a variable thing. We need long-term studies, but it's really amazing all of the work that they're doing in response to that first time period where Rajendra got sweaty and dirty as a doctor, which is frowned upon, to actually seeing these scientific studies and results from this work that was done 35 years ago. So it's a really special opportunity, really a once-in-a-lifetime trip to get to experience these things for yourself, to get to learn from this Gandhian figure of revolutionary, peaceful change, which is really profound. This has been a peaceful, positive change in these areas, but then the peace has actually dispersed, where it's gone from violent areas to peaceful as this peaceful revolution has spread across this region. So it's really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get to see these things, learn from the people who implemented them, to be able to implement the same kind of thing yourself when you go home.
And too, you're reading about headlines, and right now you pop on The Guardian, they're like, oh, Tehran is going to run out of water. It could run out of water in a week or two. Well, we're going to see the solution for what they could be doing on this trip, and for, like what we're experiencing here. If you're living in Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada, anywhere in the West, these are some of the main solutions for what we can do in the areas that we live, especially if you're in anywhere that's water scarce.
Do people have questions that we haven't gotten to during the course of
Also,
this session?
also too, feel free to like raise your hand and we could do get into any live questions. Yeah, Tina says, once in a lifetime, so this trip will not be offered again. It's a big question. We don't know. I think this is the only one that we are planning on doing for anywhere in the like near future. Who knows? Especially if this does really, if people really love it, then we might do it again. But we're gonna just take it and see how it goes for I think the first iteration.
And a big thing, I mean, definitely don't want to limit ourselves in the future, but I don't think this will become a yearly thing, and this will be the only one in this way, in this style, where we're launching this wall-less, borderless water university as part of the trip. So this is a really interesting time. Even if we do another trip to India at some point in the future, it won't be like this one.
All right, so
Are there plans for videos, perhaps a book on these projects and their benefits? So there are lots of these PDFs that you can access on the Water Stories community. There's lots of documentation already. There's many published books, especially in Hindi. There's less in English, but there are a lot of in English as well. And then we'll be collecting a lot of content and creating a lot of content about this. And then obviously there's the 2 films that we have that I shared earlier, Reviving Rivers and The People's Plan for World Peace, and then many other videos and films that people have created about these projects.
yeah, there's tons of videos where you could actually see like the examples of what they're doing, whether it's the check dams, whether it's the ponds, whether it's river restoration, percolation tanks. These exist over tons of videos, and Chuan Bratsan has lots of documents. I think there isn't one exact video where they like go to like this village, these are the structures, Jaipur, these are the structures. But if you go to like the different videos, you'll see like, oh, this one's about the Chambal Valley and this is what they did. But there's no single video that like collects all of those together. Oh, there was another good question here from Susan. Oh, I guess, Indra, you already asked that. The hotel that we're going to be staying at in New Delhi, I think we're still deciding on the exact hotel, but there's definitely enough time to find.
We already have a few options. I just want to clarify. We are waiting for the final list of registrations to come be with us, and then we can finally announce all the hotel names and other things. So that is not logistically too much of a burden for us. Okay. But we've got things figured out, even for the people who bought the premium tickets. So everything's covered for. We're just waiting for, getting all the names in our hands and the passport details so we can make the final booking and let you know that these are the hotels you will be staying at.
Nice. So I guess question for people who arrive on the 11th, what is that like? If you arrive on the 11th, on January 11th, and we're leaving on the 12th in the morning, like I know for me, I want to try to arrive a few days early. But if you have to arrive on the 11th, what are the things they can do to prepare for the rest of the trip if they arrive the day before we leave for Rajendra's ashram? If they arrive on the 11th and we leave the next morning, like what can they do?
Okay, so just to kind of, again, let you guys know that if you arrive on the 11th, most likely you arrive 11th morning, like early morning. Like that's when the flights from the US get in, okay? Mm-hmm. So you have to check with us and confirm, because the hotel reservations will be from 12 o'clock 11th going into the 12th, okay? So we have to first be known that when your flights are coming in, what details have to be made, what bookings and reservations have to be done. Okay. Yeah. Now you need a lot of rest if you land, because then you have another 3-hour journey, like 3.5, 4-hour journey to Rajendra's ashram. The first day will not be completely hectic. It's a day for orientation, to getting to know each other. It's a day of relaxation also a little bit. So the group body forms. So the first day will be quite relaxed, except for the traveling to his ashram. And then we will increase the let's just say slowly and slowly put more time in seeing, maybe less time in the classroom, more time in the field. So depending on that, once you all arrive, so we will share the full program soon once the registrations are made also. And I would deeply recommend, like, if you can, you're coming to India anyways, might as well come a day or two earlier. There's nothing like it. If you have some time to kill, I'll send you to see the Taj Mahal. So, guys, there will be no wastage of your time. In fact, it's a great time to just land up and recuperate, get that nice massage done or something, and be ready for the trip. That's what I would recommend.
Awesome. I know when we visited Andrew Millison, talked about his India adventures, he said, yeah, sometimes you can overpack for the trip. And what he does now is he goes and he actually gets a lot of local clothes. He packs a bit light and gets local clothes there. Goes and gets like really nice local clothes from New Delhi. And especially if you're going a few days early, that's probably a really nice little travel tip. That's definitely what I would do is if we try to arrive early, like, yeah, get some local clothes, like do a local guided tour, stay at the hotel that we're all staying at. That's what I would probably recommend doing.
And also, guys, if enough people are here earlier, we could have some, unofficial dinners or maybe meet up at a brewery and things like that. Just depends on, once we have the registrations in, then things become slightly more easier. We're able to give more information to you all and are able to support you in a better way.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're going to have a WhatsApp group for everyone as well. So you'll be connected with everyone. If you're going to be there a week early, you can say to the group, hey, is anyone else coming in a week early? Do you want to travel together? So we're really want to make this a big part of the trip is where we're going and who we're learning from. But another big part of it is the other people coming on the trip. And so we want to really facilitate connections between you all as much as possible. Tina, the temperatures are going to be really nice. They're going to be, basically from maybe mid 40s up to 70s, maybe a little bit warmer. But so imagine kind of 50 to 70s, might get a little cool in the evenings. This is Fahrenheit for folks. That's what, maybe 5 to 15 Celsius or something like that. Indra, correct me if I'm way off there. But it's you're muted there.
7 and 15 degrees Celsius. I think that, and the average temperature should be between 12 and 13.
Wow.
That's really comfortable. It's going to be a really nice time of year to be there. It's going to be basically, mid 50s to 70s and mostly pretty nice.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good time to be there. Is it the middle of it's not the months. We're in the monsoon season, is it? Is it like it's before it
This
starts?
is the winter. This is one monsoon between, let's just say, June and August, September, and this is you're coming in January. So this is a good time. Tickets are cheaper. The tourist season is almost over, so we'll have a lot more time. We can see a lot many things. There'll be many options, and in some ways, we just have to trust each other and creating this together, rather than just the whole burden that, no, this is water story. This is all of us, and we should start feeling that we are part of this together as co-creators also. Of course, there are the role of the organizers and the role of teachers within this collective. But till the time we don't take ownership, I think, the real group body takes longer to form.
Yeah, fair enough. I will also want to point people out, like if you still have questions about the trip, let's say you sign up and you still have more questions, of course, we'll be available anytime. We're going to give everybody, be part of a WhatsApp group where we'll be following up, like, for information about visas and flights and travel details. Like, you're going to have all these questions and answers, but also, the Ticket Tailor page. Let me bring this up here. It's a really great resource for everything that we're going over. Let me just pop this open in the background here. And again, if you have any questions between now and signing up, of course, Megan or I can take a phone call and talk about with the trip with you. For some reason, I can't share Ticket Tailor. but we'll be updating info, like on flights, saying, but everybody updates. And so everybody's going to like be well informed of what they need to do far before their travel date or booking a flight. Well, does anybody...
Any final questions from folks joining us here?
Quick webinar. And again, feel free, raise your hand. We want to hear some live questions. If you can do it, we'd love to hear. Tina, thank you all. Appreciate you coming, Tina. Well, folks, this has been a really...
And I'll say, or just one final thought here. I know a lot of the people that are joining this trip. This is going to be a really fun trip. It's a really fun group of people. A lot of different people from my past. Raleigh, Greg, the guy who I learned to operate excavators from, he's coming from. Friends from Australia are coming. It's a big part of our Water Stories team is coming. It's really going to be an awesome group of people. So I think that's going to end up being a highlight of the trip as well. Just a really remarkable group of human beings spending 2 weeks together.
Yeah, very cool. And we're going to be zipping around filming pretty much all of it. So we're going to be turning it into something really cool after.
Indra, Raleigh, any final thoughts before we wrap up the webinars?
I think the final thoughts, like, I was really excited to do this, because I can recognize something that, I'll remember the rest of my life. I can really recognize an experience that, you'll hold on to and will stay with you. And this sounded like one of those. You might have trainings that, like, workshops are great, but the experience of being with this group for 2 weeks, I think it will be one of those moments where you're going to hold on to for years, if not longer. And so that made me really want to jump in and, yep, I'm in. I'm going to help make this happen. I'm going to do what I can to be there. And so I'm really excited to be a part of this and to see these projects that, I've made films about, but to actually see this in person, to experience this in person with all these beautiful people in this beautiful region. I cannot wait. I knew when I learned about it, you got to make it happen. It's unforgettable.
And I think you guys have summed it all pretty well. And my last thing is that please join us. It's something that we've been really meaning to do, like build bridges across the world. And with the current state of the world, no matter where you live, you're affected by one sort of division or the other. And here through this journey, we're trying to take the first step to actually build and connect as water does, and not as giants or concrete connects. We want to connect like water, where our water and all our waters change with the vessel that it's being dropped in. We want to be that conduit for global peace. We want to be the conduit for actually indigenous wisdom and indigenous knowledge. And this is an opportunity where with open hearts, we welcome you to see the indigenous wisdom and ancient wisdom of our land in water. So thank you so much. And I'm just really grateful to the Water Stories team for organizing this present webinar and also the previous one, and just being with us on this great journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And it's great seeing some names, people I've got to meet in person. I've been in workshops of the past, Melanie and Maureen. It's awesome. Hopefully you both jump in, because it's good knowing you, and hopefully we'll get to have this adventure together again in India.
And you never know what kind of ripple effects are going to come from each one of these drops. If you think, back to where we started the webinar, without that first meeting between Rajendra and I and those 5 days together, Water Stories does not exist. And so it's really, you never know what taking that leap of faith, doing something that maybe you're a little scared, maybe it's a little uncomfortable, you don't know what the results will be. You never know the ripple effects that are going to happen downstream from that. So I want to also just encourage each of you guys to be bold. You will not regret it.